What's up, everybody, and welcome in to the Backliners podcast, Aggro and BaRRaCCuDDa, as per usual. But today, joined by the back-to-back, the two-time, the 2019-2020 Smite World Champion. It's Zapman. Zap, thanks for coming on the show. Listen,
Thanks.
I had a lot of fun calling you the champ, Zap. You know, defending world champion, all that kind of stuff. Now I've got to do it for a whole nother year, and now the intro's got to be even longer just about every time. It's a good spot to be in, though. We'll kind of talk about the finals eventually, but I want to talk to both of you guys about coming into Worlds, because both of you guys have gone to plenty of big tournaments, gone to World Championships before, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How was this year's prep in comparison to years past? Barra, we can start with you. You sounded pretty confident in the show right before Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, we were just kind of running it down in duo basically every game, and our scrim results were good, and we felt like we had kind of figured out our strat and like how we wanted to play the game. So I mean, going into Worlds was just running down scrims every game.
Yeah, that ended up what you did when it actually came to the World Championships. We'll go over your games a little bit. Zap,
Yeah.
I heard through the grapevine that the scrims for PK were not going so well on the lead up. Was that true?
Yeah, I mean, we played against BaRRaCCuDDa's team a lot. I literally told my team we should never scrim them for our mental. Actually, most of the year I told my team not to scrim them because we just kept getting wrecked in duo because they just kept running it down, and I was just trying to play a low pressure pick, and I have Jake just sitting in my lane, Barra zoning, and I wanted to retire early. I'm not even joking. Let's just say it was not fun. It was not fun leading up to Worlds.
Is that normal? Was it kind of like, I feel like that kind of happens all the time for teams at Worlds, though. Like they say to me, dude, we've been inting in scrims. We haven't won a scrim in months as far as I'm concerned. And then they come in and they pop off. That's kind of how it goes sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for my team is when we scrim, we don't really communicate as well. And when you're playing against pressure, you have to communicate a lot. You know, give this up, let that go, don't die here. You know, like all these little comms that we do at Worlds, but we don't do in scrims.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that a lot of people were playing duo pressure. So when there was no comms or I didn't know anyone was coming, I was the one getting wrecked every game. You know, so it was not a fun time, and that's for sure.
Listen, I'm sure you were a ray of sunshine the whole time, Steve. That's I'm sure. Hey, sometimes that's the way it be. Let's start at the very beginning of the World's bracket, then, in the quarterfinals where you guys played. Or was it placements? Yeah, it was placements that you guys played in, technically. Barra, you guys played against Sanguine there, a team that...
Right?
Oh, yeah, you played Belt Slap first.
Yeah.
My brain still has not recovered, so this is going to be a rough episode, I can tell you that right now.
You're good.
You guys played against Belt Slap first, and they picked Afro Support against you game one. And in that moment, I knew the set was over. Because the fundamental understanding of what you guys were planning to do clearly was not there.
Yeah, we had come into that set with a little bit of knowledge about what they were wanting to play and what they were going to do. And we saw the Afro and we were like, oh, it's got to go zeros. So we locked in Push, and then they locked in Disco, and we were like,
what's up?
Wait a second here. This isn't what I thought was going to happen. And, I mean, we weren't like, we're going to lose or anything, but it's just, what are they doing more of? Like, why would you ever lock in Afro Support? Like, you obviously know, like, the play style me and Jake have.
Yeah.
Like, this is not what you want to be doing here.
No.
And honestly, I was more nervous for that set than any of my other sets because I don't know why. I just get nervous when you play the team you're supposed to be beating.
Yeah,
Or
you want to be the underdog, right? You want less on your plate.
And I mean, it's just mentally like so much easier. Like, if they take a game, it's like, man, they just won on EU ping.
Yeah.
And it's just, it wouldn't be good. So I was worried about that. But then once you actually get into the game, you're like fine mentally and not worried about it at all. And I was kind of just like the whole entire set knew we weren't going to lose. And I was just kind of calm the whole time.
Just vibing.
Yeah.
The Opwash pick, didn't end up seeing it again through Worlds, but you guys kind of messed around and opened up Worlds with an Opwash pick. Was that something that you guys were planning to pick a lot of, or what happened there?
We've been practicing in scrims a bit into healing comps, and well, like if they have like a few soft healers or if they have like a main healer, Ben was trying it a lot, trying to figure out like where you can, I guess, fit the pick into a team comp because it's kind of hard. Like immobile mages are pretty hard to fit into any team comp,
Right.
and I think it was like a good testing ground, I would say. But I don't think we needed to pick it the rest of the tournament, unfortunately. Vin was just kind of holding it in his pocket in case they picked a healer. But yeah, we were practicing. We probably played it like 5 or 6 times going into Worlds.
With Blink every time, or was that a classic Ven audible?
With Blink basically every time, because his thought process was, I'm literally going to die anyways. I might as well blink in and get my damage on their backline or get my damage on like whatever target I need to hit.
Yeah.
And because Aegis, he said that it wouldn't do anything for him. It just prolong his death, obviously, like by just a few seconds.
Sure.
So he said it basically got him no value, and Blink was just a better relic.
Were you worried at all when Julio was kind of putting Harry in the dirt? Was that game 3, I want to say?
I don't remember that game, honestly. But no, I wasn't worried, because I knew once we went to team fights against that team, I mean, at the ping differential they were at, they basically had no chance in team fights, because that's when, like, all the little, like, split-second decisions and split-second reactions have to happen. And unfortunately, I think when you're playing with that big of a ping disadvantage, like, you just can't win team fights.
Sure, fair enough. Zap, your placement round matchup was a lot of fun to watch. That was up against E United, and you guys had a couple of very close games in that set. What was your prep like going into that set, and do you think that you guys had to make significant adjustments as the set went on, or did it play out as you expected?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really sure what our prep was. I mean, we basically scrimmed Ghost and Renegades leading up to Worlds, and let's just say both teams ended scrims early against us. So like our prep was kind of just, I don't know, we were kind of just like, we kind of know what they do. Let's just make sure we communicate. We kind of know what we want to do. We planned on playing more of a late game style at Worlds because we think at Worlds it's way easier to take games late because everyone plays a lot more disciplined. Some teams play a lot more laid back. And so, yeah, I think we kind of just went in saying if we communicate like we know we can, play disciplined, play patient, we can like beat anyone we go against.
You and Neil really took it to Snoopy and Genetics. Snoopy had one of the worst sets he's probably ever had in his pro career. Definitely not a time to have that happen on the world stage. But you were kind of running it down on him. Yeah,
I feel bad for Snoopy, and I feel like a lot of people don't understand the duo lane this year. Like the duo lane is so dependent on if your team helps you or not, or if you play that side. And if you look at what United did, they just played Baskin side. They left Snoopy on an island with unsafe picks. You know, they left him alone as Cupid. It's so easy to zone a Cupid. It's so easy to gank a Cupid because he has no CC immune ult. He has just a dash that's easy to follow. So they basically left him alone. As soon as we saw 4 people go blue, we called Pele over to like duo side, and Pele owns Cupid.
Yep.
So it was just so easy to play that side. We said scary, just don't die. You know, let him 4-way split your blue, and we'll just you know, we'll double split this, and we'll try to punish the duo lane, which we did. And I really it was not his fault at all. He kind of couldn't do anything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it makes sense. You want to play Baskin side of the map. It's Baskin, by the way, you know, the Baskin.
Yeah.
But leaving Snoopy on that island definitely did not work out. The Tsukiyomi pick did seem to give you guys a little bit of trouble. I'm kind of surprised we didn't see anyone else take out that Tsukiyomi solo. I guess it was a Baskin exclusive thing, but were you worried about that pick going on in the tournament? Did that feel like something that was pretty strong?
It was only strong in the mid game, you know, when levels mattered a lot, and he had like 3-4 items, like a void shield or whatever. That's when it was like as powerful as it could be. As the game went on, I would get tankier, and he wouldn't do as much damage. So yeah, it was a problem in the third game because we were fighting into their power spikes. Like we were fighting when the Suki was level 17, just finished his items, and you know, Bastet just finished 4 items, and we were fighting them, and that's why that game was a little bit closer than the others, because we were instead of just holding out for like the fifth item where we're more powerful than they are, we kind of fall into their power spike. So yeah, it was a little bit worrisome, but we knew how to. We knew if we just waited a little bit longer, we would just outcomp them.
It's exactly what ended up happening. A 3-0 that was close for at least 2 of those games, but ultimately still a 3-0 for you guys. And that was the easiest set you guys had, and even that didn't always look super convincing. The classic PK way, I suppose. All right, Barra, back to your turn. Oh, man, the kitty cat trying to get involved. I love it. Your next matchup was up against Sanguine, and that set was wild. I mean, this was the beginning of Apollo looking really, really OP, which I'm excited to talk to you guys about. Again, you guys had played those guys at Phase 2 playoffs and beat them there, but that was a 3-1. That set, it felt like we were just kind of waiting for Sanguine to turn on the jets, but they kept not turning them on, and you guys kept them on the whole set. What do you remember from that Sanguine set?
I remember basically duo diffing them every game, and I think because they're a relatively new team to like late game, their decision making around split pushing was really bad.
Yeah, you guys split the map really well.
Yeah, and everything that they did was just, I wouldn't say just bad, but it was like uneducated almost. Like they kept like 5-man dancing around fire when I'm splitting duo side, and you just can't do that at the in this current meta or in that current meta. Because it just gives me such an easy in every team fight. And just a difference, for an example, is like the game I played Apollo against Ghost and the game I played Apollo against Sanguine. Like Ghost literally just sat in my lane the entire game and didn't give me rotations like anywhere else. And they were just full duo pressure. But in Sanguine, like I'm literally Apollo ulting like into their tier 1. In duo, like we're fragging them there, and then Apollo ulting into basically every objective. And I just don't think they were experienced around playing against the Apollo, or their shot calling was like, oh, it's like disrespectful to the Apollo pick. Like they would just leash an objective and then be like, oh, we can probably get this. Like everything will be fine.
Yeah, the one Gold Fury that you like hovered over forever, and then they just like reset it and gave it to you guys for free. That was pretty wild. I was just so surprised they kept taking fights on solo side of the map. And then being like, what? There's an Apollo here? Like, how did he get here? I don't know. I agree. I think that they seemed a little bit inexperienced against it. Zap, go ahead.
I was kind of surprised too, because normally it's kind of standard when you see globals on the map, you play in the lane of the global. Right. Because then you make it useless. Like you see Athena, you play on the Athena side. You see Chernobog, you play on the Cherno side. And it totally takes away their ultimate. So like that was definitely, I guess, inexperience from Sanguine.
Yeah. Bear, a lot of talk after the set as well. A lot of tweets being fired off. I figured, you got a podcast, you got a platform. You want to talk about that at all?
So basically, I thought Sanguine had been cocky and overconfident basically the whole year with their tweets and with their overall personalities. And then at playoffs, when they tweeted like better team lost, I was like, all right, man. Like,
but Barra, you're the wholesome guy.
Like, we're gonna pop off, and like the whole set. Like after game 1, I was like, okay, if they give me a Paul, I can't lose. And I just started just destroying them, and just like after every game, I was like, man, I am so ready to tweet this, dude.
This is the toxic side of Barra chat that I've known for years now that you don't get to see. You guys think like Barra, the Barra Zap dynamic is that Zap's always the one that speaks his mind and Barra's just like the quiet, nice guy. No, Barra's just as toxic as anybody else, man. He just hides it better. That's what I know.
Or I don't even think I hide it better. I think people just like see me like I'll laugh so and people are like, oh, that's cute, that's so BM. And I'm like, no, I'm like actually genuinely laugh spamming this guy, and it's like, no, that's cute, keep doing it. Like people just want to see me however they want to see me, but I don't know. It's just like I literally got my trash talk from like Halo and COD days. Like, trust me.
Yeah. Hey,
it's different stuff back then.
Unreal, because immediately I'm starting to think about, I was like, who'd you guys play next? And oh yeah, you played SSG that early in the tournament.
Yeah.
And it was, dude, as soon as you guys went down 2-0, I was like, there is no way. There is literally no way it happens again. I'm sure you or Neil or one of the other leaders of the team, Zap, someone must have said, well, it's just like last year, fellas. Like, easy from here, right?
We've been here before, boys. We've been here before.
I mean, game 1 and game 2 were... They looked pretty clean from SSG. I mean, in typical SSG fashion, they don't put you in the ground early. They really play to the mid game, and then they play around objectives really well, and they win one team fight and put you in an impossible to win position. Did it feel different through the first 2 games this year in comparison to last year?
It felt the same because it was like we were ahead early, and then they win one team fight with their late game comp, and then they beat us.
Yeah.
The thing about Space Station is they're like an Achilles heel to our play style because they play late game like we do, but they play a little bit more late game, especially in their jungle picks, right? They pick a lot of auto attack junglers like Erlang and Kali. So so we hate playing against them. You know, they also pick Ganesh and things like that. It's really annoying. And when we try to play pressure against them, we don't play. Like, for example, Ghost beats them with pressure because they commit 100% to that style. When we play pressure, we kind of like, you know, one lane has pressure, not the other. Right. So it's really hard to play pressure style against SSG unless you fully commit. And so for us, we play like late game, but we don't play that late game either. You know, we kind of like to win one side of the map.
Yeah.
And so it was just really hard. So basically our game plan was the same as last year. We're like, okay, just take Cherry off his comfort, his like 2 gods that he's always comfortable with, which is Erlang, Kali. And I think we could just beat them now if we go late because there's not really another late jungler that we're scared of from Cherry. And that's kind of just what we did. And it was still really hard, but it worked out for us.
Man, you win game 1, you must be like, okay, you know, like we're in their heads instantly. I feel like as soon as you guys won game 4, there was a 0% chance SSG ever wins game 5. Just like the mental pressure you've put on that team at that point, like how could they ever come back with the looming reverse sweep from last year in their heads? Did you feel the same way? Like as soon as you won game 4, it was over?
Yeah, we kind of felt like that after we won game 3. We were like, it's in their head, you know. We're like, that's what we're talking about. We're like, they're thinking about it. We're thinking about it.
Yep.
You know, let's just keep doing our thing. Don't change the bans. Ban out the 2 gods that we know Cherry likes, and we just go from there.
Brutal, man. Absolutely brutal. Barra, I'm assuming you watched that set. What were your thoughts on it?
I was very happy for PK, but very, very, very sad for Cherry.
How could you not be, dude? Maybe Zapman doesn't feel that bad for Cherry, man. But the rest of us.
I felt pretty bad. I felt pretty bad. I mean, the cams afterwards, man, that was some heart-wrenching stuff. Brutal,
man. There is no one on earth who cares as much about anything, I think, as Cherry cares about anything. He's just a dude who cares. And it's one of his greatest traits. It makes him a great player. It's not a detract. I don't think it's a negative to the way he plays the game. But man, just unbelievably heartbreaking for the guy. You guys ended 2 careers with 1 reverse sweep. Raffer and Cherio both saying that they're done. After that does feel bad.
Right after.
And then adapting right after, bro. And then adapting right. Career ender, Steve.
Whoops.
Whoops. A couple of junglers who are gonna dive you all the time.
I feel really bad. Oh, a tank player and a jungler. Oh,
terrible.
I'm sure you're gonna miss getting blinked on by those guys, for sure. What was I gonna say? Was that set? First of all, speaking of the cams, I loved watching all of the guys for the PK house who live in the team house like popping off, and you just sitting there like. Yeah, like we did it. Were those awkward?
Yeah, well, every time I was like, "Yeah, let's go, baby," I'm like, "Wait, no one's hearing that." So I just get up on my desk and just like go get a water or something until I know they're coming back, and then I'm like, "Yeah, guys, let's go."
Yeah, at one point you like waved to the camera because you knew like they were posting like the big set cams.
I actually did some like fake hugs to nobody, but no one caught that. I think it was a little bit later.
You gotta go get your wife, dude. You gotta bring her in on the celebration. You know, have someone to pop off with at the very least, right?
Just punch your chair.
For sure.
I was gonna say, did you ever consider just absolutely obliterating your chair?
No, I think I'd break my wrist if I punched it that hard. Like, that was insane.
Dude, I watched that gif of Fred punching his chair like 100 times the next morning. And my wife will attest to this. I was literally just like crying, laughing, watching it again. It is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That's exactly what happened to me. Every time I saw it or I saw the GIF, I just couldn't help but laugh. Like, it was just so like powerful.
Like he hits it once. He hits it once, and it's not enough, dude. He squares up. He like lets it settle, and then he comes down on it. Like he's coming. It's like a Superman punch. On God, that would have knocked out McGregor. Like,
yeah, I've never seen more perfect form on a punch. It was insane.
And the way the chair falls, like it's comedic and it's I don't know. It's literally the best thing I've ever seen. I love it. That chair got absolutely annihilated, and I was always there for it. So you guys both move on to the semifinals. BaRRa, we'll keep going with you first because I don't know how long we're going to talk about this Go set anyways, because it was a bit of a roughie there, bud.
Yeah, so obviously me and Jake's playstyle is very run it down in duo, and we were just picking immobile gods and holding W in duo. And we were unaware of how Twig's playstyle was, which he was is a heavy rotator, and it was like basically every like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or like a minute. Like Vin would tell us that Twig was in duo jungler, like Sam was missing for like a minute or like a minute and a half, and we're just like, man, like I just feel like I'm getting suffocated. Like I can't fight in duo ever, which was literally all we were doing in scrims and all we were drafting for. Like game 1, we picked like Artemis Shamir, like really strong 2v2. Game 2, we went like Apollo Ares, again, really strong 2v2. Both times we got ganked, both times we died, and once you die with like immobile duos, you're just screwed. Like your support can no longer like run through the map and get deep vision, and then you start getting pressured more, which is what happened game 1. And I just feel like strategy-wise, they just beat us across the board in game 1 and game 2. So loading into game 3, I was like, okay, Jake, we can't fight in duo anymore. Like, let's just try to completely abort the 2v2, and we'll just try to hard play through solo side.
Yeah.
And then I think something happened on the solo side.
Impossible to say. Yeah, who knows? Everyone disconnected.
Something weird happened in the solo side.
That play, can I say, that play physically hurt me. Dave will attest to this. I was pacing for the next 5 minutes. I couldn't sit down because that play, like, look, I'll be honest with you, Bear. I really don't care if you win or lose. I just I try and stay impartial as best I can. I just don't want that play to happen to anybody under any circumstance. I don't want to see that if I'm watching 10 bots in a game. I don't want to see that play happen, man. It hurt me.
Yeah,
you guys had to, like, Ven, a great teammate, good dude, good player. His mental must have been shattered after that play, right?
I think it was just, an unlucky set for Vin. I think.
Yeah.
I think he messed up a solo ult in duo, and then I think he messed up the Kraken in solo, and then we put him on disco game 2. So, I mean, he's not doing really anything game 2 except for being a passive bot. So we kind of just screwed Vin over a bit game 1 by pushing up in duo and losing or getting ganked by the Anubis.
I have a theory, by the way. I said it on broadcast. I don't know if you went back and listened to the cast at all. But on that rotation from Twig, I saw Ven ping exactly where he was, and I see you guys were pushed up. You clearly wanted to fight, and I see you like take 2 steps back, and then Jake instantly goes in, and you're like, well, I guess we're going in, and I hope that Twig backed, and then he, of course, waltzes over, gets a double kill. Then the whole situation after that happens. But am I correct that Ven did ping that rotation and that you were thinking about backing up, and then Jake decided he wanted to hit the gas pedal?
The first part of that is true, but I actually did not hear Vin call the rotation. And he did call it, and he did ping it, and I did not hear it because, just sometimes...
Well, you were thirsty.
Yeah, and I think Jake was, like, really wanting to... he was obviously really wanting to fight in that situation, but I remember right when Jake got wrapped and Anubis ulted, he was like, "Oh, the Anubis is here." So I don't think Jake definitely didn't know, and I definitely didn't know, and Vin definitely called it, and it was just our bad for pushing up and getting ganked like that.
That is unlucky. Zap, I know we talked about the set a little bit. What were your thoughts watching that other semifinal set? Because you knew that you would have to play one of those teams if you moved on.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Bear and Jake couldn't really pressure as much. But then again, if you want to like pressure the purple, you also need pressure in mid, which they didn't have. So they had like one piece of the puzzle, but not the other. And we kind of knew Twig because we scrimmed a lot of Ghost. Of course, obviously we don't tell what we scrim.
Sure.
But we knew Twig likes to rotate a lot. That's why you see him a lot on the Poseidon picks and stuff like that. So I was like curious. They like picked Changa mid and stuff. I guess they weren't sure like about Twig's playstyle, like he said. So yeah, I think if they had mid pressure along with the duo pressure, then I think their game plan would have worked really well.
Yeah. A little bit unfortunate there because Ghost does not give you a lot of time to change because they're going to gun it down from minute one, basically, in those games. And Steve,
because I felt like from duo, they weren't gunning it down. In duo, they just didn't want to fight us.
Right.
But it felt like their mid was gunning it down towards us, and we were just like, okay, we can't play the game.
Right.
And I think Mike just wanted to bottom pick to counter us in duo. And I think, I said it during the picks and bans, but I was just like, I feel like their entire game plan is to shut me and Jake down and not allow us to play our game. I don't know if that was actually true or not, but from playing it, that's what it felt like.
No, I think that's a fair estimation. Especially, I mean, I think that's the most logical game plan to fight against you guys because the majority of games you win, I feel like you win through duo and through duo pressure. So if you're gonna step up to beat that, you got to find a way to beat the duo lane. So I think
they've watched 6 games of ours.
And they'd watch 6 games of yours. Do you think that's a big deal going into that?
I think so. I think for a team that's as good as Ghost and that preps as well as Ghost does, I think that's really big for them.
Fair enough.
And the targeted on last rat, sorry. That was really big as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Zap, Radiance. I almost forgot that you guys reverse swept them too, which is just wild.
You did?
No, we did it. It was 1-1 and then...
Oh, right, it was 1-1. No, you're right. I'm sorry. It was 1-1, dude. My brain absolutely destroyed. It was the game 4, 3 Phoenixes down sort of comeback that I was thinking of. First of all, poor John Finch. You put that man through the ringer this week. He casted every single one of your quarterfinal and on sets, and you took him to 50 minutes plus in 5 games every single time. You really you pushed the man's voice to the brink. But of course, Finch popped off because he's the GOAT, and that's all there is to it.
My heart is racing right now, dude.
Woo! We got a 50 times one. Another bonus.
Boom!
I love how pretty it is.
Ignition, and it's good. It's very good.
But what do you remember about going in to that Radiance set? Because I feel like Radiance is one of those teams that I feel like is a little bit hard to nail down what they want to do.
Yeah, I think Radiance was the team we were most scared of this tournament because they beat us twice already in playoffs. And they play, I would say, somewhat similar to us where they don't play full early or full late. They have they'll pick their mid laner will pick late, so it's not if we get to late game we have the better better late mage, and they also first pick the Scylla too.
Yeah.
So they match up well into us, Big Man Tings has immaculate position. You don't really see that guy die a lot. And I just think they matched up well into us. And I know we had a pretty good game plan going into the Scylla because we wanted to pick the Afro.
Yep.
And I think game 1 we were in full control and we kind of threw in a team fight. But that's just what happens when you play against other late game comps. It's just like one mistake, you get bursted and you die. So when we lost game 1, we were feeling confident and we were just we got to just step it up in the team fights. And we won game 2 like that. And then honestly, I don't even remember what happened game 3, but that was another close one. And then
neither do I.
And then game 4, that one was just nuts. I don't even know how we fell that far behind. And then we had 3 Phoenixes down, 900 HP.
Yeah, less than 1,000 on a Titan.
Yeah, I think we like killed one or two of them for some reason, and then we said we have to get this fire giant. Like even if one of us dies, we have to get it, because if they get it with 3 Phoenixes down, the game's just over. So that's why we all end it, and then they ended up picking Paul, and then they were pushing down right side, and we were like, we have to just fight them right now. They're grouped, so we're like, Neil, they're right in front of you, or like right in front of the Phoenix. So he blinks, engages, and then I get a 4-man ult, and then Fred goes in, and I think adapting wasn't even there. So we got like a big engage off early, and the Persephone had no actives, I believe, so she died instantly to Fred. And then Ronnie killed the Cherno because the Cherno actually dashed my ult, so he had no dash. So of course the Thorns solo laner is going to kill the ADC, right? So,
Yeah, of course. No counterplay at all.
Ronnie kills him, and he's still full HP, by the way. Just so you know how the matchup goes.
Right.
And then after that we just killed them, and then I was so close to living. Like I Aegis Benji's ult 1 HP, and then stupid Persephone passive kills me at the end.
Oh yeah.
I remember that.
But anyway, then we're like, okay, we wiped them. Can we end? And then we're all talking about it, and then we're like, okay, we have to go end. That's our only chance. Like, go end now. And people were like, we're low. But then we're like, no, you have EFG. It's fine. Just go end. And then everyone's walking through mid, and they're like, oh, who's going to defend right? Paul's coming up in 10 seconds. It should be fine. Like, everyone just needs to go end. And then they ended. And then we kind of knew we were going to win game 5 after that, because there's no way like they could recover mentally from that.
Dude, Paul spawning at the perfect timing is serendipitous, but also, of course, a great call to not send anybody back to defend, because you needed all of that DPS on Titan. I mean, I don't get it, bro. Like, obviously you guys played so well in all of these sorts of situations, but teams, I think you really got in teams' heads, knowing that they can't make mistakes and that no lead is safe against you guys. And I think that almost forced them to make more mistakes in the late game because they're so worried about it. Like Benji diving all the way into the Titan really, really deep and like getting picked off in a fight earlier on. I think that there are a couple of examples of SSG and of Ghost doing the same. Did you guys feel that way, that like we can almost, in a style that I think was dead for a long time, you guys were really just counterpunching and waiting for other teams to make mistakes against you, and teams did make a lot of mistakes, and you guys capitalized literally perfectly on every single one of them?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was our playstyle coming in, depending on our picks. Like when we have Scylla, we're just looking for poke, and then we're looking for them to go in on us. That's kind of like our game plan, because then we could just back up a little bit, kill the front line, and kite the back line. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of just like our game plan. I think a lot of teams are just so used to like, they see a carry and they just blink and say go go go, but that's not really what our play style was. We're kind of just like, all right, let's play our strengths. Scylla can just use route 2 to poke, especially the tanks, and I think it caught a lot of teams off guard how patient we were in the team fights.
Yeah,
because we definitely didn't play like that during the regular season, but that's how we play at Worlds even last year. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, and also if a team makes one mistake in us, we have a Scylla ult that literally will one-shot somebody. So it was very punishing playstyle that we had against a lot of these teams.
Is it true that you guys practiced very little Scylla coming in to the tournament?
Yeah, so we played Scylla maybe once or twice the whole week, or the whole 2 weeks that we were scrimming. We never played Artemis. We never played Hachi. We never played Kuzumbo. We didn't play Cthulhu, I think. And then there's just a lot of gods we didn't play, but we just know we have them, and we kind of just are confident in each other to bring them out. You know, like when I said to my team, pick me Artemis, I never played Artemis a single time. But I was just like, F it, give me Artemis. And they were like, yeah, okay, no problem. and then in like game 3 elimination, I was like, yeah, give it to me again. And they were like, sure. You know, that's just kind of how our team is. So
yeah,
definitely one thing I love about my team.
Both you guys played a little bit of Artemis this weekend, or last weekend. A lot against Cupid. In particular, was it just against Cupid that you think that the matchup's good enough, or do you think Artemis is good enough to be played against a couple different hunters?
Well, I didn't get to play that game, so.
Artemis is good into Cupid. That was like the main matchup for me, because what's it called? Cupid just likes to ult to get the other guy's ult.
Yeah,
you know, that's all the Cupid does in the lane, and that's how he gets pressure, because he could just kill you with a heart bomb because it stuns you. So he has that kind of like thing. So Artemis could just 2 out of the ult, and it's fine. Yeah. So that's basically the main reason.
BaRRA, same thing for you.
Once it got buffed, I was playing it in scrims, like right after. I think it was into Vote, and then Vote messaged me question marks. He was like, "What?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that's how Artemis 2 works now." He's like, "Oh." you're just like, "Oh, okay, that's fine."
Yeah.
So I knew the matchup. I was pretty comfortable with it. So I practiced it a bit, and when I picked it, I was like, "Okay, we have Artemis, Scylla, Ymir. I feel like our team fight is just going to be absolutely insane."
Yeah.
And then we just didn't get the team fight stage that game.
No, you did not.
Unfortunate.
Steve, you in particular, I mean, Barra, you played a little bit of Heim, if I remember correctly, during the year, but not a lot. Steve, you played a ton of Heim in the lead up to Worlds, and then picking things like the Artemis against the Cupid makes sense to me, but picking things like Hachiman instead of Heim in a lot of drafts, what made you change from that pick? Because it was pretty successful for you.
Mostly because Heim is slow early, and a lot of teams just play duo pressure this lane.
Mm-hmm.
At least I know Renegades and Ghost did, and so did Radiance.
Mm-hmm.
So Heim was just really bad at clearing the jungle early, and he's okay at clearing lane.
Mm-hmm.
But usually in these games, just from my experience at Worlds, a lot of the focus is just like invading the buffs and stuff like that. So I just picked like Hachi and Jing because I know I couldn't die,
Yeah.
and our plan was to never fight these guys that were invading. We just wanted to let them take our buffs. We didn't care because they were triple splitting, quadra splitting invades.
Mm-hmm.
That it didn't matter. You don't fall behind like that as long as you don't die. So that was just our game plan. Like as soon as we see a Ymir pick like against Radiance, I picked Jingwei instantly because I knew I was like, I'm just gonna give up my purple, but I'm gonna farm everything and I'll be fine. It doesn't matter. Then I'm just gonna be a Jingwei late game. You know, just being fine. And that was our game. That's why we picked literally the lowest pressure against Ymir Cupid. We picked Jing Xingchen because we were like, we're just gonna give up our purple every time. Doesn't matter. I will not fall behind. And also, if you noticed how Neil backed early every wave, is so I could get to level 5 before the other hunter, and then they had no chance to pressure me ever after that, basically.
Smart. I like that a lot. The Hachi against the Fenrir probably didn't feel quite as good as something like Jing. Well, Jing also kind of gets destroyed by Fenrir. It turns out Fenrir just kind of kills ADCs pretty well, huh?
Yeah, Thorn's OP, man.
Thorn's OP. Yep. That's all there is to it. Barra, your thoughts on that Radiance set?
I thought Radiance hard trolled when they had 3 Phoenixes down and then gave PK the chance to fight them in mid. I don't know why they did that. You have such an easy win. You just wait for duo and solo wave, and you're fine. And then they all pushed down mid, gave Neil the chance to start the fight, and I was just like, why? I just feel you just wait for your waves to push down. You sit in mid. You literally can't lose. And they just hey, what if we 5v5 here? That's the only way you ever lose that game.
Yeah, it was a tough L. It was a tough L for them for sure.
I just feel like people just got really nervous against PK.
Yeah.
I mean, understandably so. And then they would just start choking. And PK would just start making play after play after play to get themselves back in. I'm just like, what is happening, man? Watching all the games, I'm just like, how are they winning these games? Absolutely insane.
That's exactly the way I felt. One play for PK, you guys were down 6,000-7,000 gold. If you guys made one play, I was like, oh, they're in their heads. Because you just watch PK reverse sweep SSG, win from 3 Phoenixes down against Radiance. You watch game 2 up against Ghost, where that game looks unwinnable, and then all of a sudden they win it. And it's if you make one mistake, you probably do feel like the game is over from there. And Zap playing on your side, that must feel so good to know that it doesn't matter how far down we are. You know, the 5K deficit at 15 minutes is just the PK lead at that point, because you're going to make a play and end up turning it.
Well, it just comes down to comps, to be honest.
Yeah.
I guess we're not talking about Ghost yet, but when we play Ghost, they play early game supports. We're not scared of Fenrir 30 minutes into the game. You know what I mean? So we kind of just know we're going to win if everyone's full build. And even if it doesn't matter if we're 20K behind, if we're all at least 70K gold because we're all full build. That was kind of our thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, game 1 up against Ghost, Mike was massive that game. He got really, really far ahead, but...
It didn't matter, though. That's the thing.
Right. It just didn't end up mattering.
Yeah.
I think that was the game Fine played Arthur, right? Because I think he made they got fire, they reset, they came to duo side. The rest of the team was on Gold Fury, and then Fine was trying to get a fight started by your back harpies, and then it got a little bit awkward. They started trying back up, and then Neil found a really sick wall to wall off the Cupid by red. And I think that's where the whole kind of course of that set changed, or that game rather, changed back into your guys' favor. Did you? I mean, I guess this is a worse question for you than it would be for like Scary, because they were gunning it down solo lane. I think Scary lost his tower pre 10 minutes in 4 out of 5 games in that set. So you must have been expecting Fine to come over really, really early in games and be there pretty often.
Yeah, like I said, our early game strat was to let them do whatever they wanted, just don't die.
Yeah.
So basically, we knew like once Scary lost his tower, Fine was going to come, and we just would do the pyro whenever they did the gold, and we'd be like 2k down, whatever, we don't care. Then guess what? We have another 5 minutes to farm and be only 2k gold down with our late game team comp. So the biggest mistake people make against Ghost is they try to defend against Ghost, but you really can't defend against Ghost because they're insanely good, and they pick for that style. So, and we played against them last year, so we knew exactly how they played, you know, like we knew how Arkle played. He was going to jump in all the time with honor and try to like fight. So it was the same thing this year. We knew they were going to just invade. So we saw like 4 people at Ronnie's Blue were like, just go get a like a mid harpy or something, you know,
Right.
and just let them have it. And then they'll get their 2k lead, and then that's it. And then we'll just keep going until late game. And then we knew our comp outscaled them. We had the better team fight support, and we'd probably win most of the team fights from then.
Yeah, game 1's comp in particular, Ghost literally can't win post 35 minutes. Like that composition just doesn't do anything post 35 minutes unless you are literally killing the Titan at that point. But that's kind of the only way. So game 1, I really feel that exact same way as you, that if they get to that point, it's kind of over already, and you guys proved that. Game 2, I agree, if it would have gone really late that you guys would have been heavily favored, but you guys go from like 8k down to stealing a fire to grouping up, they hard engage, and you wipe them and end, and you guys probably ended that game down 6,000 gold because you just pushed for the end. What do you remember about game 2?
So game 2, yeah, we fell behind because we died a few times, and that's how they were starting to snowball. But we knew, like, one of the best things about Scylla was her secure.
Yep.
So we knew we could always like burn a gold, or like they would never pull a gold in front of us because we had Scylla. And so they did the fire in front of us, and you never want to do a fire like 5v5, you know, especially when we have the better secure.
Right.
And so we had a ward on it, like a good regular ward. I don't know who put the ward down, but we could see the HP, and we're like, oh, they're on fire. And then we just said, okay, just play for the steal.
Yep.
Paul goes into his monster, and like, of course, he secures it. He literally didn't miss a secure the whole
Unbelievable,
world.
dude.
Yeah. So we were very confident we were going to get it. And as soon as we got that, I think we were 8k down at that point. We're like, okay, we could definitely just try to get even now, you know. But you know, the thing is like when they were doing that fire, it's already like 20 plus minutes into the game. You know, we're like scaling. We're scaling. We're getting stronger. Paul's never fell behind Twig. Yep. You know what I mean? And I was always even. Like sometimes our front line would get behind, but like that's just what happens to front line, you know?
Yeah.
And so we were just sitting pretty. We didn't care. We still had our tier 2s, like, you know, it was 20 plus minutes into the game, and then they tried to force a fire because they couldn't get anything else like from us on the map, and we just got the yoink. And
dude,
so yeah, I don't know, we're still feeling good in that game.
Well, then right after you guys get the fire, you go back to left lane and you get like mega dove. They blow a lot in order to try and kill you. You get out, but you have nothing. You're 20% HP, no relics, no ult. And so Ghost tries to force a fight, and Sam comes gunning through the tier 2 wall at you. And Paul hits probably the nastiest I'm a monster I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, that was... he one-shots the man. He one-shot him. It was insane. Were you like... Did you assume you were dead in that instance? Do you remember that play?
Yeah, so I kind of thought they were trolling, crackening me. And then they took me under my tier 2, which I thought was pretty troll because we had fire. So even though we were AK down, it didn't really matter. We weren't really AK down in that fight.
Right.
Because we had Fire Giant on basically everybody. So when they crack in, I was like, okay, they're chasing me. And then the Serb blinks. He's stunned. I don't beads until he ults because they had no follow up. Then he ulted, and then we wanted to fight them after that because they had no Kraken, no Serb ult. Like, what are they going to do? They have nothing to kill us with. And then that's why we were chasing. And then Final K blinked in, and he popped his thorns, used his ult, but Paul already put him to half HP instantly. Like I heart bombed him, did 1% of his HP, and then Paul did his 1-2 and took him down to 50%. Right, so anyway, hunters suck. Anyway, and then what's this called? Mike came in too, and then he popped thorns in front of me too, and I'm like, wow, this is so good because they just double thorns, double ulted. They did nothing. I survived. And then Sam, I don't know what that play was. Like he just dove into tier 2, and I was like, and Paul already ulted, and Paul was like, we're going to kill this guy. And then I turn around, start autoing. Paul just one-shots him. And then we were like, go! We're just yelling like, oh, this is so good. And then Paul ults Mike and Final K. And then we just knew we kind of won the fight after that. Like, it was just over.
Yeah, I was so confused as to how Ghost lost their 3v4 because you didn't get to do any damage, as you highlighted, because Hunters suck, but also because they had dumped everything into you before that. I thought Paul had only hit Sam, but I talked to Ghost a little bit afterwards, and I went back and watched it.
He hit Mike too, yeah.
He hit Mike and Fine with his I'm a Monster, so he hit 3 people with it. I still think Ghost should have probably been able to do a little bit better in their fight, but you're right, without Stygian Torment, without Kraken, like, their fight kind of sucks.
Smite right now is just who dives better. Like, that's all it is. It's like backline survives, and then who dives better. And that's kind of just how it goes. So when they waste their ults like that, our backline was able to just free cast. I mean, our front line was able to just free cast on their guys. They had no one to peel. Stygian Torment was down. So, like, everyone, like, as soon as we killed Sam, they were just all on their own. You saw them, like, just scatter. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, in that, you want to talk about mental damage being inflicted, like, Ghost being up by a lot in both games, and then especially game 2, not even like slipping away, but being over really, really quickly in the series of 2 plays, losing the fire and then taking a bad fight, and then getting counter-ended literally instantly. I feel like that puts you mentally in a pretty bad spot. BaRRA, at that point, did you think that PK had it in the bag?
Yeah, I thought Ghost had... I mean, I've always thought Ghost mental, like, is not great, which I think is why they play like the full pressure comps, is so they can't get behind. And I think once they have thrown 2 of those leads, I thought it was over. Like, I was just like, PK are literally going to 3-0 these guys. Like, they've thrown 2 massive leads that Ghost should never normally throw. Like, I think if those were regular season games, Ghost should probably just close those out cleaner, but some miraculous reason at Worlds, like, they start choking. It's
pressure.
I thought it was actually going to be better for Ghost that the tournament was online because they'd been playing so well online the whole year. And I was like, if we go into Worlds, I think Ghost should have a good shot at winning. If we don't beat them because it's online, I think there's less pressure on them.
Right.
And then they just throw 2 massive leads, and I'm like, okay, this set's literally over. Like, we should just pack up and go home now. Like, there's no reason.
Do you think so? Home, but, exactly. Do you think so too, Zap? You think did you thought you had the 3-0 in the bag at the time?
Yeah, I mean, we always thought we match up well against Ghost, and we definitely don't feel any pressure when we play, or at least compared to them. And we kind of thought like last year would be on their mind, and we kind of thought like Sam might have been a little bit nervous playing against us too, because we know Sam pretty well. And I don't know, we were feeling confident against them.
Yeah. I mean, games 1 and 2, Sam definitely did not look like the Sam that was at Worlds last year or played throughout the regular season this year. Those were definitely down games for him. But he kind of turned on the Jets, and the whole team turned on the Jets in game 3. I'm trying to remember their exact comp game 3.
Game 3, they had Awilix.
Yeah, it was the Awilix pick. They kept letting you get the Scylla. Were you surprised by that?
We thought Sam was going to play Awilix game 1. We were surprised when he picked Thor. We're like, okay. But game 3 was lost in drafts because like we got ahead of ourselves. We first picked the Scylla, which we always talked about never to do because it was pointless. We knew Twig would never play Scylla. He's never played Scylla in his life.
Right.
So it was so dumb to pick the Scylla. We should have just picked the Cupid. That's what we did in game 5. And So it was just draft because like we do this sometimes where we get ahead of ourselves. We're like, oh, if we just have these gods, we win no matter what. And we early picked the Scylla and the Kama, and then they just picked the Wheelix and countered both picks, So it was like we kind of just knew we were like, oh, we shot ourselves in the foot game 3, and it was over in like 25 minutes.
Yeah, that didn't get to the later stages in that one. Game 4, normally my brain very good at remembering these things. I also don't remember they played a Wheelix again game 4, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they played a Wheelix Cthulhu, and the Cthulhu was the big break pick because Scylla couldn't one-shot the Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was Final K would just blink Thorns Paul, and Paul was useless every fight. So we're like, holy shit, this is like the Scylla counter. Like we can't one-shot him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they literally have one dude zoning 2 of us.
Yep.
And they can kill our dive with just 4 of them. And that's kind of just what happened. And we still had a chance to win until I ulted the Olerin, which was like, I felt so bad about that play because that was just so bad. I don't know why I thought I could kill him. He had double lifesteal, So like there was no chance I'd kill him.
I thought with that play, I was like, oh, if you have crit, that makes sense. But like landing down, I think you went the pin attack speed build that game.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I don't think there's any way that Zap can ever take that outbox.
What happened was, go ahead.
I was saying, I think the Fender had Magi's too for your mez. So like, I think you're just always losing that, unfortunately.
What happened was we were hyped because we like killed 2 of them, and I was coming up with alt or something like that, and the other one was kind of like half or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I have alt, Ronnie, let's go on him, and Ronnie was right there. And then I was like, wait, I actually can't kill them. It's kind of like a boneheaded play, and I feel like we could have won that game if I didn't throw right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that was like I think that was probably my worst game of the tournament, like game 4 for sure.
Yeah,
and I think we actually could have won that game pretty easily after that because we were, Scylla was online, and we were just
you could, because you guys had a counter siege moment in that game where you guys push up, and then I remember we were watching from Sam's perspective, and I think you were on a ward or something like that, or he could barely see you, and you like got to the intersection at mid when you were running away, and you couldn't tell if you wanted to go like into lane or towards Gold Fury, and then Sam just blinked on you and insta killed you and put Ghost kind of back in one of those big moments.
Yeah, what happened there was I knew I was dead because my pathing, and the Wheelix Suku could just catch up to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw them going into the red, and I was running with my team, and I was like, I'm definitely dead here. So I just go the other way, so they didn't kill all of us,
right?
Basically, because we couldn't run away from the Wheelix,
right? Yeah, that
so we kind of just stayed too long. We were kind of just dead as soon as we took the pathing into red.
Man, was that the game you guys tried to end, and that's when they pushed out? Because there was not like a true base race, but what was it? It was Sam and Panda alive against a couple of you trying to end. Was that game 4?
Nah, that was game 5.
Game 5. Holy God, dude, that was such a wild game.
Yeah, we were just trying to get a Phoenix, and then that was it. We just stayed too long.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. So game 5, back to 2-2. You've been on the other end of that coin a couple times now, Zap, where you've won 2 in a row facing elimination. What was it like being on the other end, having the 2-0 lead, and all of a sudden have your back against the wall?
We were having trouble figuring out what we wanted to pick and ban, and we were thinking about like letting the set through and picking the set, and we were also thinking about letting the rat through and pick the rat. But then we were kind of just like, no, let's just keep it the same. Let's pick more mid pressure this game. That's why we didn't play the Scylla, because we were like, we could just beat these guys straight up. Like we knew if we picked a little bit more mid pressure, we could just get out of the early game without such a deficit that the last 2 games happened in. And since he kept picking the Wheelix, we were like, let's just pick the Morrigan. They're not going to expect it. It's a completely different play style than the Scylla is, and it will definitely catch him off guard. And we're so confident in Paul's Morrigan, so we kind of were like, all right, let's do that. Let's get the Morrigan, and then if he picks something that's easy to dive, we'll have the Kamazats as well, which is like, and basically I think we won that game off draft. And and the other thing was we were talking about first picking Cucullin, because he always wins lane. Cucullin was just like, that's why he's always picked at Worlds. He just like wins the lane.
Right.
And then we were like, if we go Morrigan, let's go Morrigan Cthulhu for the double Cthulhu ult. And we're just going to dive him. And so after the draft is over, it's basically like, okay, 4 of us are going to dive, and Zap, you're on your own. And I was like, no problem, like that's how we're going to do it.
Another day in the life, huh?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's fine. Normally I'd pick Jingwei in a game like that. That's why you saw like I'd pick Jingwei with the Morrigan.
Sure.
Because I knew I'm always alone when Paul plays Morrigan.
Mm-hmm.
I picked the Cupid just so we'd had healing, we can heal. And we take it away from them too, because the Cupid gives them a kill lane. And that was kind of our game plan going in. And then once they locked in Poseidon, we kind of felt like we were going to win because it was just easy to dive their back line.
Has there been a god that has been a part of so many losing compositions as Poseidon through the history of Smite? Like, I feel like that god just loses, bro. I don't know.
Poseidon, I feel like I don't really know why people pick it. I feel like it's a crutch god because he's so easy to play because you could just like clear and rotate, but he's really bad in my opinion overall as a god. And he's very easy to dive, especially in the late game. So yeah, I was like, as soon as they picked it, we were feeling really confident because we know we can dive it easily. We had the Kama. Kama just owns him, you know? And Cthulhu just owns him. The Kraken does no damage to Cthulhu unless he does it before he ults. So we were feeling really confident going into Game 5.
Yeah, Barra, what were your thoughts going into Game 5? Knowing that PK had the reverse sweep energy around them. I really wasn't sure what to think, but I did really like the draft for PK Game 5 more than what we saw from Ghost.
I was pretty confident in PK's mental at that point to not be in a we're about to get reverse swept mindset, but more of like a this is now a best of one mindset. And I didn't think they were like mentally going to be freaking out or anything at that, because I mean they've literally been one game from elimination like mentally so many times, so like why would it matter now?
Yeah.
And then when I knew it was over when PBM popped Girdle and that Ghost was not waiting for their Hoombot's ult to come back up and just were pulling fire.
Yes, like, dude, that call baffled me because Sam and Paul have that weird meeting in the jungle, some anime stuff for the record, where they like lock eyes for a half a second. They both like Paul starts to run. Paul misplays in that moment, I think, by using the transformation because it cleanses your CC immunity. But Sam must not have realized, because a lot of times Hunbat's players, you're just dropping Fear No Evil, expecting the carry to beads and walking away. I think Sam probably could have killed Paul in that 1v1 because he got re-feared. But then, yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be so simple for Ghost. I mean, Sam's blink and ult are both going to come up before Paul's beads or ult are coming up. And Morrigan without her ultimate or beads is like basically a worthless character because you can't get into that backline. Zap, you guys must have been ecstatic whenever they started to pull the objective and try and 50-50 it.
Yeah, they were really trolling on that play. Like, you never pull enhanced fire 5v5.
Yeah.
Like, even 4v5, you'll get wrecked.
Right.
Because you saw how much damage Panic Cat took just from fire, and like one ability from Kamazatz, he literally was 10% HP when he went in the air.
Yeah.
So as soon as they pop Girdle, and as soon as we saw them like eat, because a lot of times we don't check fire until the wall comes up, because there's no threat until the wall comes up. So as soon as we see the wall come up, we're like, we can look for an engage here because they're going to get wrecked by the wall. And then they like girdled and we're like all inning it. And then we have a freaking Kuzembo, you know what I mean? Like Kuzembo will literally kill their whole backline by himself just with Thorns and, his ult. So we kind of knew we won that fight really hard. And and they had no Humbats on. And I wasn't sure, like, they were kind of like in a false pretense thinking they were like ahead in the team fight because Paul didn't have ult, but like, he's Polynomicon Morrigan, so I don't know. It was just a weird thing to me, and I thought we were playing patient. We're like we were telling each other, we're like, we have no reason to pull this. Let them pull it. Whoever pulls it is at a disadvantage, and that's kind of just what happened. Right.
Speaking of Kuzembo, before we keep going on Game 5, I thought Raffer's Kuzembo Game 5 was such a smart pick up against Ascilla because she's just going to kill herself when she goes for those poke plays. And then he didn't build Thorns. And he built
thank you, God,
like a normal support. And I was like, Zap must be the happiest man on the earth right now.
Yeah, that was pretty troll, I think, by him. I feel like you always need Thorns on Kuz. That's like his strongest thing. And if you saw like in the late game fights, we just blew him up. Because all we didn't worry about Thorns. If he had Thorns plus his 2, we would have killed ourselves for sure.
Yeah, you're not picking Kuzembo to build like Ganesh. I don't know. That was a head scratcher for me. Zap, I do have to say, you picking up the fire at the very end of game 5 and solo ulting it and trying to secure it. I was kind of laughing at that when I went back and rewatched that fight. You were locked in on that objective.
Yeah, if you actually watch the fight, you see the Kukulin, he ulted me, right? I dashed away and I go back and I'm right behind the Kukulin and he's running back to my dive. So I basically pulled the fire to get the Kukulin to come back. And if you watch how they reacted, the Kukulin was going to help his team and then he came back to go on me.
Yeah.
And then the Rama also ulted me. That's why I was so low.
Right.
Because in their comms, it's like, oh, he's pulling fire because they didn't know how low fire was. Fire was really low.
Right.
So in their comms, it was like, he's going to fire, like stop him going to fire. And you saw Panda ult me and Final ult me and go on me. And that's 2 big like cooldowns that are gone. And I would just survive still. And then I knew we would just win the dive because we have 4 people diving and the Ram already ulted. So it was just kind of like doing my job of like, because like I said, it's 4-man dive and I'm on my own.
Right.
So I basically just do as much as I can to distract. And that was kind of just it.
Using the fire as the distraction. I love it. Barra, that last fight, do you remember what you were thinking watching it?
I'm laughing. Once they pop Girdle, I'm like, okay, this is so stupid. Like, Humbots had to jump away from the Kamazots. They left the door wide open to their back line. And then Final K misses ult on Steve. Steve dashes out and goes back in, starts pulling fire, which looks really funny from a top-down perspective because it's just like a little baby trying to kill fire. And then I was also like, Steve's been basically on his own the whole game, so it's just like a fitting role for him to be like, please let me kill this fire.
Hey, Mackenzie. Sorry,
it just looked
everybody.
really funny from like, oh, you're good. It just looked really from like a top-down perspective. Because I think in the moment in the game, I don't think pulling that fire is like a bad play. It just looks really funny from a top-down perspective. And then I went back and studied the play a lot after like they in the game and everything, and I just have no idea why they leashed fire. Like, it was such a panic, all-in play because Twig. I mean, I think even if they get that EFG, they lose because they would have to damage it so much longer. And he Kraken it at like 4 or 5k, and like if he Krakens it at 1 or 2k, the play is still the same.
Right,
all their carriers are still going to be in the fire pit, tanking a Cthulhu, tanking a Kamazots, and I think all the noobs were like, "LOL, bad Kraken." But like, if that's the call, that's the call. Like they're playing to commit to fire, and like, it may look really stupid, but if that's their comms, that we have to all in fire here, and he popped a Girdle too. I just think the Girdle pop, like, was the nail in the coffin for Ghost at that fight. Yeah. Because it just scripts exactly what they want to play and how they want to play
I think
during the fire.
The biggest thing for me was they lost when they got it low. Like, because we were just waiting. They took so much damage from the fire. The walls were up. They had 3 or 4 people in the walls. And we kind of just knew we were going to win. We just wait till it got low, and then it's just panic city. Like, what do you do after that? It's low. Like, they don't even know what to do after that. I wouldn't even know what to do because it's just the fact that they put themselves in that position. Right. It was kind of it was curtains for them.
And Zap, you guys have 2 of the best ending moments, I think, in World Championship history because it's not like a close fight on a Phoenix even, because those end the game so fast. The last 2 years, you've gotten this nice, relaxing waltz up the mid lane, knowing...
I wasn't relaxed. I was like, get this fucking Kukulin off me, guys. That's what I was... Because they were just screaming. They were like, we won. And I'm like, help me. Oh, it's on me. Like, get this fucking behemoth off me. God, I can't tell you how much I can't stand solo laners, man. Oh, my God. I hate them so much with a passion. I hate them.
Listen, small thorns nerf going into season 8, that's...
Not enough.
Not enough,
Not enough.
I agree. Barra, what were you going to say?
I was going to ask Zap if he's gone back and seen his face right when they swapped over to him after that fire play. Because there's a moment of sheer panic when it swaps cams from, like, Neil to Zap, and Zap's mouth is just, like, wide open, like, screaming, please help me.
Because they were yelling, and I'm like, I gotta yell over them because, like, maybe he can defend. I don't know. And then I was like, help. And Neil's like, I'm coming, man. And I'm like, yeah, body
not fast enough.
You literally leave Neil in the dust, find like insta kills him, and you're like, see you, geeks.
Like, see you later. Let's go win the game.
I love it, man. an unbelievable run. I mean, everyone goes into Worlds thinking they're going to win, but you guys had the hardest possible path. You beat seeds 1, 2, and 3. You had the hardest possible path last year, I would say. And that's 2 years in a row. So now all you need to do is win a third year in a row, Zap, and you're the greatest ADC to ever play. Easy for you.
Yeah, I don't know. My team just, I don't know. We spend all year making the same mistakes. You know, like whether it's not grouping up, chasing kills, when we pick low pressure, not giving stuff up, dying to ganks, all this just nonsense ways to fall behind, and then it's frustrating as the year goes on because we know how to win, you know, and I think that's one of the reasons why Sam left is because like our year is not like roses, you know what I mean? It's a struggle all year for us. Both years it's been the same. We just keep making those kind of dumb mistakes. Come Worlds time, we don't really make those mistakes. Everyone's like, okay, all right, now, you know, play patient. If they're invading a bluff, don't fight. You know, give it up. You know, we only fall like 2K behind. It's fine. You know, everyone just turns it on, and that's not how we are during the year.
Right.
So it's just funny, and we all know how to win. We all know like the fundamentals and how to win Smite games, and we forget about it during the year. We bring it up during the Worlds, and that's kind of why like we have these kind of runs.
Hey, you make it more exciting that way, and you bust a lot of brackets. You make seeding kind of go out the window. Guys, we're actually overtime by a lot already because we've been talking about such a great event. But normally, you know, we end with a little bit of a random question. But I was thinking the whole week about, first of all, how robbed we were of the unbelievable energy that would have been.
Oh my God.
In the arena during that. Every set, I feel like, would have had, like, when Scary picked Achilles in one of those games, I was like, dude, the crowd would have gone absolutely nuts in that moment just for him picking his signature pick back on the world stage. Such a shame that the Cobb crowd couldn't have been there for what was, in my mind, the best Worlds we've ever had in terms of the game quality and all that kind of stuff. But what did you guys miss the most from a normal World Championship to this year? BaRRa, I'm gonna make you go first because you're on the show all the time.
Definitely fan interaction. Because I feel like every year I spend as much time I can with my fans and just getting to meet everyone or seeing like the same faces that have come to like several Worlds. And also, I'm just gonna keep going, but like, just going around the event, whether it's at DreamHack or at Cobb, is just a different energy. Like, it is literally the best experience if you're a Smite fan to just go to a World Championship and just be around people that love Smite as much as you do.
Yeah.
And just being around the energy, being around the fans, and there's nothing like it. And it is my favorite experience every year. And I think that's why this loss didn't hurt that much, because I was just like, yeah, it's not too bad. Like, I kind of enjoyed playing, you know? It was a fun event. And I think if it was at Worlds and then you have so many fans coming up and they're all like, sorry you lost, man, better luck next year. And like the 20th, like, sorry you lost, man, just like, oh,
stop. Yeah, I'm good now.
Sorry, I let you down.
It better come with a drink.
Yeah. Like, please take the pain away. Like, oh.
Yep. Yeah, Zap, for you, besides getting tons of free drinks from APAM, what do you miss about Worlds?
I mean, that's it, really. No, no, definitely what BaRRa said. The atmosphere is the biggest thing for me, right? Like, there's like something in the air when you get on stage. You know, you're like breathing different air. I don't even know what to tell you. Like, it's just insane. You know, when you're about to make a play, there's like a slight delay, and you know, you're like, yeah, let me hear it. You know, right? And it's just the atmosphere. Then afterwards, you talk to a bunch of the fans that you've talked to all year, and if you stream or you do content, like you put names to faces, and it's just such an incredible experience. And you're just around everyone that loves the same things you do. You can talk about it all the time. And just to sum it up to one word, I'd say it's the atmosphere.
Yeah, big agree for me, of course. The other thing I tweeted about it, but just being able to like. Watching Cherry's cam and like knowing that was Adapting's last SPL game and like not being able to go up to the boys and obviously I'm not gonna talk to them about the set or anything like that, but just like, given Mike, who's one of my best friends, being able to give Mike a hug after a tough set and be like, hey man, it's all right. I missed that level of just being connected with the players, and also being like, I felt like I was going into this meta more blind than usual, because normally on the lead up and that kind of stuff I get a chance to like sit and talk with people. I just miss being able to connect with everybody and kind of get everyone excited. Dude, all the Season 8 reveals would have been so sick at Cobb, because all that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, by the way, our next few episodes, I think we're going to go, and this is all news to BaRRA because it just came into my brain. I think we should kind of go roll by roll and take a look at, for the new Season 8 stuff, and see what, the new starter items are for that role, how the map plays, expectations for that. Maybe we'll bring people on for each role. Zap, if you want, you can come on and talk about how hunters didn't get buffed enough. And how,
you know what you get if you bring me on the show.
Yeah. We'll talk about how thorns didn't get nerfed enough and nothing matters, but all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the game plan for the future here. But Zap, congratulations again. From no Worlds just 2 years ago, no Worlds finals appearances, to 2 rings back to back. It's been a pretty good run for you.
Is it the
It's
same
been
finger?
a struggle.
No, you go.
I have 2 ring fingers,
Listen, if you got to move the wedding ring a little bit, I'm sure Flora
Yeah, that's
would
what
understand. I'm sure she would get it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you guys are following Prediction on all the podcasts that they have. Give us a rating, all that kind of good stuff. And we will see you next time to talk a little bit about Season 8. BaRRA, do the thing.
Bye.
Not bad.
Thank you.